You're watching My CDL Buddy. Today we're going to show you how to do a pre-trip on a Class B CDL vehicle. Today's pre-trip is the new modernized version of the pre-trip. With the modernized version, the pre-trip starts inside of the truck. Let's get in and get started. To start off your pre-trip inspection, the first thing you're going to have to do is your in-vehicle inspection, your in-cab, and all your braking tests. On the in-cab, the first thing that I do, I put my vehicle in electrical mode, I turn my key slightly to the right, I check for my ABS light to come on, and then go off to indicate that my ABS system works properly. And if you have DEF on your truck, you would do the same for your DEF light. Make sure it comes on, goes off to make sure your DEF system is working properly. Once you're done with that, you start up the truck. Once you start the truck, you jump into your braking tests. The first braking test that I do is my lab test. It's a 4-step process. The first step is to show the examiner that from under 90 psi to 125 psi that I'm going to build air into my air tanks. My governor will cut in around 90 psi and then cut out at 125 psi when my air tanks are full. To do that quicker, I will push down on my accelerator to build up RPM to make sure that my air compressor works faster. And that's what I'm doing now. Once I get to 125 psi on my air tanks, I should hear a loud hissing sound to indicate that my governor cut out and stopped my air compressor from pumping, meaning that my air tanks are full. We just heard that sound, so step 1 is successful. Step number 2, I would turn off my truck, put my vehicle in electrical mode, put my foot on the service brake to hold the vehicle. I'm going to push in my yellow knob, my truck brake, to release the brakes to go into step number 2, my applied brake test. I'm holding my brake down for 60 seconds. I should not lose more than 3 psi in that 60 seconds of time. I'll either count it out or have my examiner time me. That's 60 seconds. In real life, you would actually count to the 60 seconds. I did not lose more than 3 psi in that 60 seconds. So step number 2 is successful. Step number 3, I'm going to fan my brakes, pump them up and down till 60 psi. I should hear alarm or buzzer and see an indicator that I have low air in my air tanks. Let's start that process. As mentioned, at 60 psi, my alarm and buzzer should sound, which it did, and also I do see a light on the dash. Now step number 4, my final step, is to keep on pumping till 20 to 45 psi, where my emergency spring brake button should pop up. So let's do that now. You keep on pumping until that button pops out. The button did pop out. I am successful in my lab test. Now I'm going to start the truck, build the air to 125 psi to do the parking brake tests and the service brake test. Once I start my truck, I have barely no air in my air tanks. I'm going to push on my accelerator to build my RPMs to build the air quicker. Now that both of my air tanks are full, I'm going to do the parking brake tests. I'll put my foot on the service brake, put the vehicle in drive, make sure the yellow knob is pulled out, meaning my parking brake is applied. I will push on the accelerator to make sure the parking brake holds the vehicle, which it does. Now, I will push in the yellow knob to release the parking brake on the truck, drive 5 miles per hour, hit the service brake to make sure the truck stops and the vehicle does not sway from left to right to indicate a suspension problem. All right, the vehicle does stop properly. The vehicle did not sway from left to right. I will put my vehicle back in neutral, pull out my yellow knob to put on my parking brake. Next thing that I want to do, I want to check all my lighting indicators on my dashboard. My left turn signal indicator works. My right turn signal indicator works. My high beam indicator works. And also, my emergency four-way flashers work. I will turn off my lights. Next thing I want to check is all my emergency equipment. In the back, I have my fire extinguisher. It's not broken, not cracked, unsecured to the floor, proper type, fully charged. My 3 reflective triangles, they're in the back. They're not broken, not cracked, proper color, secured to the floor, they work properly. My emergency spare fuses, they are in the glove box. I have 1 fuse for each type of fuse. Also, I'm going to check my mirrors. Make sure they're not broken, not cracked, on secure, clean and clear, properly adjusted to my view. My windshield, it's not broken, not cracked, on secure, no illegal stickers blocking my view. I'm going to check my wipers and washers. Make sure they're not broken, not cracked, they work properly. Also, I'm going to check my washer fluid. Make sure it sprays and works properly, and which it does. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to turn on my fan, put on heat, and also put on defrost and floor heat to make sure my defrost works, which it does. I could feel the air coming. And also my floor heat works by my pedals. I could turn off the fan and turn off the heat. Finally, I'm going to check my city horn and my air horn. Make sure they work. My city horn works. My air horn works. Now I have completed the in-vehicle inspection and all the brake tests. If I'm successful in this part of the test, I'll move on to finish the rest of the pre-trip. Once you have completed the in-vehicle inspection, your in-cab, and all your brake tests, if you are successful, you have to finish the rest of the pre-trip. Since I'm already in the truck, I would ask the examiner if I could do the external light operation check. If they allow me, I'll tell the examiner to step out of the vehicle, go in front of the truck to help me with my light check. I'll turn off my truck, put my vehicle in electrical mode, make sure my windows are open. The first light I want to check is going to be my clearance lights and my headlights. The way I do that is I turn on my headlights. I got to make sure my clearance lights, headlights work. If they do, I'll go on to my high beams. Then I'll do my left turn signal, my right turn signal, and my four-way flashers. Once the examiner tells me that those lights work, I'll have the examiner go to the side of my vehicle on my driver's side to check the lights on the side. Once the examiner is on the side of the vehicle, I'll turn on my headlights to make sure all my marker lights from top to bottom and side, they all work. Also, I'll turn on my left signal indicator to make sure that works on the side of the vehicle, and my emergency four-way flashers to make sure that also works. Once I'm done with that, I'll turn off the lights, have the examiner go to the back of the truck to check the lights on the back of the vehicle. Once the examiner is back there, I'll turn on my headlights to make sure my clearance and marker lights on the back of the truck work and my running taillights work also. From there, I'll ask if my brake light works. I'll push in my service brake and let it go. Then I'll check my left signal indicator, make sure it works. Right signal indicator, make sure that that works. And I will turn on my emergency flashers once again to make sure they work on the rear of the vehicle. Once I'm done with the rear, I'll have the examiner go on the passenger side of the vehicle, do the same thing. I'll turn on my headlights to make sure all my marker and clearance lights work on the side of the vehicle on the passenger side. I'll turn on my right signal indicator to make sure that works, and my four-way emergency flashers once again. If all those lights work, I'll turn off all my lights, turn off my vehicle, put my key on the off position. I'll step out of the truck to do the rest of the pre-trip on the outside of the truck. On the outside portion of the pre-trip on the Class B vehicle, the first thing that I'm going to do is start off with the front of the vehicle. Clearance lights, they're not broken, not cracked, on secure, proper color, clean and clear, they are working properly. My headlights and high beams, they're not broken, not cracked, on secure, clean and clear, working properly. My turn signals and emergency flashers, they're not broken, not cracked, on secure, proper color amber, and they're working properly. Now I'm going to go open the hood to do the engine compartment area. We will be starting off with the unique side of the engine compartment, which is the passenger side. The first thing we're going to inspect on the unique side of the engine compartment are all the hoses, all the lines, and all the components to make sure nothing is broken or cracked. Everything is on secure. There is no leaking of air or fluids. Also, we want to check under the vehicle, make sure there are no puddles and the floor is dry, which it is. Now we're going to go to the driver's side of the engine compartment to inspect all the regular items. On the regular side of the engine compartment, which is on the driver's side, the first thing I do, I check all my lines, all my hoses, and all of the components, make sure nothing is broken, nothing is cracked, there is no air or oil leaks anywhere on the vehicle. Next thing I'm going to check is my coolant reservoir. It's not broken, not cracked, on secure. It is not leaking. The hose is on tight. The hose is not broken, not cracked, not leaking. The cap is on tight. Also, the coolant reservoir, the fluid is at proper level. Next thing I'm going to check is my oil dipstick. My oil dipstick is not broken, not cracked, on secure. The way I would check my oil level is I'd pull out the dipstick, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it back out, make sure it's reading at proper level. You do not have to do this during the test, but you do have to explain how you do this. My power steering fluid reservoir, it's not broken, not cracked, on secure. There are no leaks coming out of it. The hoses are on tight. They're not broken, not cracked, not leaking. The cap is on tight, and it's at proper level. Next, we're going to go to the power steering gearbox. It's not broken, not cracked, on secure. No leaks. The power steering gearbox hoses are not broken, not cracked. They are on secure. They are not leaking. My 3-piece steering linkage, it's not broken, not cracked, on secure. All my bolts, my castle keys, and my nuts, they are not broken, not cracked, on secure. Now in my suspension, I'm going to look for my front spring mount. It's not broken, not cracked, on secure. I will go to my rear spring mount. That is not broken, not cracked, on secure. My spring leaf, it's not broken, not cracked, on secure, not scissoring. My 2 U-bolts, they're not broken, not cracked, on secure. My shock absorber, it's not broken, not cracked, on secure, it's not leaking. Now we're going to go into our braking area. My brake hose and line, they're not broken, not cracked, on secure, not leaking, not frayed. Inside of my wheel, there is no contaminants by the brake items. Now we're going to go to our tire and wheel. The top of my steer tire, there is no cuts, no breaks, no cracks, no leaks. My tread depth is 4 32 of an inch. In depth, I would check that with a tread depth gauge. After we do the top of the tire, we're going to move to the front of the tire and the wheel area. On the front of the wheel, the first thing I would inspect is my tire wall. It's not broken, not cracked. There is no cuts, no leaks. My rim, it's not broken, not cracked. There is no illegal welds on it. My lug nuts, they're not broken, not cracked. They are all on tight. My valve stem, it's not broken, not cracked, not leaking any air. It does have a cover on it. I would have to inspect to make sure I have enough tire pressure with a tire gauge through my valve stem. Once I'm done with my wheel, I will inspect the rest of my truck. Now we must inspect the rest of the vehicle from the driver door to the rear of the vehicle. The first thing I'm going to check is my mirrors. They're not broken, not cracked, on secure. The bracket is on tight. My fuel tank, it's not broken, not cracked, on secure. There are no leaks coming from my fuel lines or hoses. and there are no leaks under the fuel tank. My fuel cap is on tight. It has a rubber seal and safety chain. If your vehicle had a DEF tank, this vehicle does not, you would check the DEF tank the same way as you check your fuel tank. The next item on the list is going to be my frame. The frame is not broken, not cracked, on secure, it has no illegal welds. On the rear of my vehicle, on the box, I'm going to check for all my clearance lights, make sure they're not broken, not cracked, on secure. They operate as running lights, they're proper color, amber in the front, red in the back. Also, I'm going to check for any reflectors, which we have one in the front, one in the back. The front is amber, the back is red. They're clean and visible, not broken, not cracked, on secure. Once we're done with the lights and reflectors, we're going to go to the back of the truck to check the rear of the vehicle. On the rear of the vehicle, I usually start from top to bottom. My clearance lights, they're not broken, not cracked, on secure, red in color. My tail lights, they're not broken, not cracked, on secure, and I do have a reflector. My rear lights on both sides, they operate as running lights, brake lights, four-way emergency flashers, and turn signals. My DOT reflective tape is visible and clean. It is 100% on the rear of my vehicle. Once I'm done with this, I will walk down the passenger side of the vehicle to see if there is any unique items on this truck. The only thing that is unique on the passenger side of the vehicle on this truck is my battery box. It's not broken, not cracked, on secure. I would open up the box, check all my batteries, all my lines, make sure nothing is broken, not cracked, not leaking, all the batteries are secure. In a real test, you would not actually physically check the batteries, but you would explain to the examiner how you would do so. That will be it for the Class B CDL pre-trip.